The bulk of society is all following, listening, and moving in a similar direction. Nobody knows more about your life than you. Look, the word no is way more powerful than the word yes. It protects you from the wrong environments, the wrong people, and most importantly, it protects you from wasting your time. You cannot follow others, use their ideas, and follow their instructions and guidance if you expect to be the best of the best in the world. Hey guys, welcome back to the Grant Mitt Podcast, episode number 105. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about why you have to be different to be successful. One thing that I noticed is that the bulk of society is all following, listening, and moving in a similar direction. Have you ever got off a freeway and maybe got on the feeder road or got on a specific street and there was 2 lanes to turn left, but you noticed that there was a massive pileup of cars, 10, 15 cars, and you just shift to the right lane, and then you go all the way to the front with 1 or 2 cars, and you take a left and basically pass up everybody. Sometimes this is how easy life can be. But the confusing part is the crowd is almost always doing the opposite of what's actually right. You cannot follow others, use their ideas, and follow their instructions and guidance if you expect to be the best of the best in the world. You have to challenge, you have to question everything. I was about to start my first company. One thing that I did is I went and asked about 10 of the most trusted people that I knew. And actually a few of them ran really, really successful companies. They've done great things. Other people I just trusted and I knew that they, cared about me and saw me in a good light. What was interesting is out of the 2 things that I was proposing, whether starting my own business or staying where I was at, almost all of them told me that I should stay in the situation that I was in. Same thing, when I had about 3,000 to 4,000 followers on Instagram, I wasn't making content. I was about 6 months in of being an entrepreneur, and I didn't know if I wanted to make content. I posted on my story, I said, hey, should I make business content? And the bulk of everyone that followed me at the time were people that I grew up with and was friends with. And literally like 60 to 70% of them said no. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. And what I realized is that nobody knows more about your life than you. Nobody knows about the problems that you face, the skill sets that you have, and the instincts that you have inside of you that's guiding you and telling you which direction to go. You have better insights than most people. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't take advice from people. It actually means that you take even sometimes more advice from people, but you make sure it's people who are actually doing the things you want to do and living the life that you want to live. Look, the word no is way more powerful than the word yes. It protects you from the wrong environments, the wrong people, and most importantly, it protects you from wasting your time. Look, one thing that helped me with this is realizing and trusting that I don't have to be right all the time. You have to be willing to make the wrong decision. But the power of this is instead of you relying on other people's advice to get you to where you want to be and relying on your friends and the people around you's advice for every big decision that you face, problem is they're putting you in every situation, good or bad. So if you start making the actual decisions, yes, you get insight, yes, you get briefed on things, yes, you study, yes, you do due diligence, but you are actually making the decisions, you are now in control of your life. I give a simple example, is it's your haircut. Why would you take advice from me on what hair you should have if you're going to be the one walking around every day? If it's not my haircut, why should I give you advice? And that's why on this entire podcast, I don't tell you that you should only go into this industry or that you have to be an entrepreneur or that you have to do these things. Instead, we just do guided principles that you can place yourself into so you can make the decisions that are best for you and your family. And this starts with challenging every single thing, thinking differently, and going against the status quo. Let's talk about how to do this, all right? The first thing is to realize why the 99% is in the situation that they're in. A simple way to analyze any person, any circumstance, or any situation, business, industry, you name it, is finding the common denominators. So first thing you could look at is the people who don't live the lifestyle that you live. What are some common denominators? When I was assessing this, and I was really conflicted because I was going into college and I had every person around me telling me that I had to get this degree, I had to have this as a backup plan, I had to do these certain specific things. And I just had this knee-jerk reaction that it wasn't correct. And so I listened to them because they're supposedly the smart ones, right? And time again, I was just in continuously bad situations that I didn't like, I didn't feel comfortable with, and I wasn't okay with. It didn't fit who I was as a person. Maybe someone different. It just wasn't right for me. And then I started analyzing. I noticed, one, that they listened to school more than everybody. They were almost brainwashed that you had to do certain things. I was a business person. I was naturally trending towards becoming an entrepreneur. Why were the people that were obsessed with telling me that I had to get a degree, that I had to go spend all this money at a university, I had to get something as a backup plan, why were they dealing with financial problems? Everyone that told me I had to go work for a company and do this and do that, why did they have all the same problems? Why did they all have things that I didn't want to live? Why did they live in the neighborhoods that I didn't want to be in? Why were they in unhappy marriages and they were telling me I had to be married at this certain age and I had to marry this type of girl? If they're not happy and they're not living the life, why would I listen to them? Now, this is just for me, right? These things may be important to me. They may not be important to you. That's why I want to be careful when I say this, is for each person, this is different. Everyone that's listening to this is created to do certain different things. You may be 100 times better than me at certain different things, and you should embrace it. So that's why I want you to plug yourself into your situation and analyze your life. Protect your mind. One thing that's so important is I do not allow to surround myself with or listen to any single person that spews negativity, disbelief, and they think small. Now, this doesn't mean that being realistic is not okay, because I'm a hyper realist. And I definitely do make sure that I'm around people who tell me the truth. But you got to protect your mind from average thinking. I have a rule that if I'm around anybody that says something that's negative or they speak something into existence that's bad, I literally stop. I'm like, whoa, please don't say that. Please don't ever say anything like that again. I will not be around them. I don't want people around me that complain about inflation. I don't want people around me that complain about money. I don't want people that talk bad about other people. I don't surround myself with people that gossip only about other people, because I notice that the common denominators of those individuals is a lack of success, a lack of self-esteem, and a lack of confidence. I don't want to do that. I want to be confident. I want to have a good self-esteem. I want to be happy. I want to be successful. Whatever the hell's going on, whoever becomes president, I want to make sure that my people, everyone listening to this podcast, my family are successful. So I'm not going to listen to those people, because common denominators and first principles says doing those things, yes, there are, I'm sure, some outliers, but the bulk of those people aren't accountable, and that's why they're not successful. So what did I do? I didn't know anybody that was hyper successful, so I went and sought that information so I could find the commonalities so I could apply them to my life. So I went into this Barnes & Noble in the middle of downtown Brooklyn when I was out there playing junior college football. I'd walk over there and I'd go sit there for hours. And I'd pick up books about Steve Jobs, about successful, world leaders, successful business people. I would study everything about what made people successful and what was the common denominators. What I found is they thought different. They were unbelievably persistent. They didn't agree and relate to the bulk of people around them. They were unbelievably accountable and only blamed themselves for their lack of success or not getting what they want in life. And they were unbelievable at one thing. And it's a common thing that I notice is that just so many people, they underestimate what it actually takes. They just don't get how hard it is to really do something at a high level. I tell this to myself all the time. Part of me is very ambitious and goes after things. And if you know me personally, you know this, is I just feel like I haven't done anything in life. Like nothing. Because I know how good people really are. I understand what people are actually doing in the world at the highest level and what it's actually going to take. And me being hyper realistic about it, well, it can make people feel kind of negative or down. To me, it kind of gives me peace. Because if I know tangibly what it's actually going to take, including the negatives, including the stressful items, then not only will I be more mentally prepared for it, but I can actually put a thumb on what it's going to take and have a better odds of actually becoming successful. But you're going to have to start thinking different. And that starts with being accountable. And that starts with not blaming your family and your society and your country and your circumstances. And sometimes what I've found is on that journey, it just is going to suck. You know what I mean? I still to this day, like firing people is always uncomfortable. I hate doing it. You know, having those difficult conversations that you know you need to have, like I found it just never really feels good. It's challenging. Walking in a room with 100 people that you don't know never really feels comfortable. But you get more used to it, but you just get better at it. Your toughness and your ability to handle these problems gets better and better and better. But you have to think different. Okay, last is reflection and consistent action. One thing that is essential is that the world is always changing. Yes, you're the common denominator, but the economy's changing, the market's changing, and even the people around you. You could keep the same 100 people around you for your entire life, and even every single day, they are evolving. So if you're not constantly evolving your approach and changing your processes, your knowledge, your resources, and evolving and growing in an ever-changing world, it is going to be very difficult to be successful. I think now what we're seeing, especially with technology and human advancements, we're seeing it compound, where if you look at from the late 1700s to maybe the late 1800s, there wasn't a massive amount of innovation. But in the last, from 1900 all the way to 1961, yes, we put a man on the moon. There was rapid advancements. We, built planes. We had vehicles. We did all these things. We started, creating the computer, all these different things. But think about what we've accomplished in just the last 15 years. We have artificial intelligence. At any moment, I could sit right here and FaceTime someone at any corner of the earth and have a real-time, instantaneous conversation. It's incredible. This could never happen before. I'm sure if you told this to people 50 years ago, they wouldn't even believe it. But one thing I've noticed is I'll be around people that are super successful. I mean, the most powerful people in the world. And they're, 30, 40, 50 years older than me. And I'll say something, we'll be sitting at dinner, someone else will say something. They'll say, wait, what did you say? Say that one more time. And they'll put it in their notes. Or they'll say, hey, can you send me that link? Hey, I'd love to jump on a call. I want to hear about that. Tell me about it. They're hyper curious and they're humble. And you can't stay the same person and expect to continue to grow. Hell, being the same is challenging. It's literally difficult just to stay at the exact same level that you are because the world keeps spinning. The world keeps progressing. You have to be willing to change and adapt and think different and create yourself into a version of yourself that maybe has never existed before so you can do the things that you want to do. One thing that I've tried to do, and I'll tell you some stories on this, is that the faster that you can feel uncomfortable and the quicker you can make decisions, the quicker you're going to grow and develop. Now, with that, being different, being unique, and changing does not feel good. I found, in fact, it's actually going to feel stressful. You're going to have this lingering feeling in your gut that just doesn't feel right. And what happens is, as you're developing and growing, let's think about it. It's like an example. There's this book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect. And it talks about the consistency of actions and how they compound in either a positive, negative, and even neutral is very difficult to have. And think about the differences between you consistently evolving, for example, going to the gym for 30 minutes a day, every single day for 365 days. Think about the compounding effect. Or studying a new language for 20 minutes a day for 365 days. It takes a long time to see that massive spike. No difference than we were talking about technology. Over time, for 2,000 years, that change was pretty linear. It was just going right across. There was minor improvements. And then there's just this rapid spike. You saw this with the internet. We're about to experience this with AI and with a multitude of different things, with space exploration. These things happen at massive compounds. But it takes over time compounding in a positive direction. You do this by being incredible, by having unbelievable amounts of resources that you build up over time. You go, well, Grant, what if I don't have resources? It starts with taking one step forward over and over again and recruiting and building an incredible team, an incredible network, compounding your finances, having incredible technology, building and scaling out of, content, advertising, business, people, all those different items. But it takes you thinking different and taking massive action. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. As always, you guys can check me out on all my social media channels at Grant Mitt. Other than that, I'll see you guys for episode 106. Thank you guys.